Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Mm.
Oh my God, bro. You're actually touching so many emotions that I'm having right now.
I've been having a lot too.
I wrote down this morning, I got up and I started to write down. I tried to write a manifesto about what makes a company or an organization cool. And that's something that I've been struggling with, articulating the cool factor. And
Yeah, dude. When you said cool, I'm like, I don't even know how to go there.
exactly. What does it mean? So
is it different though to everybody? Go on. Only go.
yes,
Go. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
This is the challenge. Absolutely, it's different to everybody. So there's one part that is, oh, fuck, this is just going to be a whole fucking wormhole. So there's a few things. There's like good, okay, this is what cool is to me.
Okay.
When I think of cool, I think of an awesome association, something that I'm really proud to be a part of that goes beyond just a simple values alignment. So for instance, I want to participate with businesses or companies or organizations that have a clear value structure that I resonate with.
Sure.
Some of those don't always look cool. So if I took Cat and Cloud and rewinded like about a year ago, the things that we're putting out, the stuff that we're doing, the visual aesthetic that we have, the products on the shelf, aside from the coffee, didn't really feel that cool to me. Everything we believed in, I was super passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
All the stuff that we were doing was awesome. But when I look at it, I'm like, it doesn't really look that cool. I don't know what that means. It doesn't make me go like, oh, that's sick. What? It was one of those things where if I had to show someone who I just met, like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I actually own this really awesome company. We do this. I want to check them out. And I had to show them our Instagram. I'd be like, maybe don't look at our Instagram. It's a little embarrassing to me. Maybe you should not. Maybe you should just skip that whole thing because it doesn't look that cool.
Yeah.
to me.
Well, no, I think that's super valid, but I also don't know if that's true for as many people, which is not a problem. Right? It's just like finding a way to be proud of what you put out. Because I think a lot of people did think our shit was cool.
I know.
Not even necessarily. And I agree with you. Like most of it, I mean, and there's no point in bashing we've done plenty of that. But I think there's lots of things that I want to continue to improve and look different. Kind of stoked that this year we did get to like slightly remodel some of our cafes and like kind of upgrade them, make them cleaner. But like even beyond that, I totally feel you. And at the same time, I think it's true for you, but it's not true for the overall. So really, it's how do we keep going?
What are other things that feel cool to me? Okay, Nike feels cool. They make products that look cool across the board.
Cool products.
And I don't know if the coolness of them has anything to do with their values or what they believe as a company.
Probably not, huh?
Probably not. They're just undeniably cool. Like if you see a pair of deconstructed Dunks or some, SB Blazers. I mean, they look Jordan. Fucking cool. And a lot of the stuff they make looks awesome. The design's amazing. The products elicit emotions. They elicit this connection.
Right. Well, there's detail. You really appreciate detail and intentionality.
Yes.
And you, it seems like, can pick up on if it was done to a level that you would like. And your level is borderline psychotic in a good way, but like really, really high.
Yeah, the Tamper is probably the best coffee example of that detail, or a project that encompasses that detail.
Like you're very specific to what you like, and that's super good. It just probably makes it hard.
It does make it hard
because it throws you in a niche sometimes. But your niche isn't small; it just throws you in kind of like it's like even the Disney stuff. Like you can recognize it as good, but you're not about it.
Okay, so yeah,
right?
Yes, exactly. So that's another really good brand to me, Disney is amazing.
Right.
But they're not that cool.
They're not exactly.
They're not cool.
Yeah, but to me they are. But it's different reasons.
I guess that's interesting. Yeah, it is totally in the eye of the beholder. So when we're putting things in this pot of gumbo and stirring it up, it's like
going to be a fun one.
Maybe
it's mole. Maybe it has to be mole.
I think it's probably mole.
More ingredients.
Yeah, it's better. It's got that little chocolatey flavor.
Yeah, I mean hundreds of ingredients. Could be thousands of years old.
aged mole.
They go hard, dog.
It's like
Like a sourdough
2012
starter.
Doterra Reserve, Brazil.
Dude.
We put a little coffee in the mole.
If you go to the one in New
We got it
Mexico,
from
the
Mole.
place I want to go, I forget the name already. Dang
I'm
it,
there
Puyol.
already.
They have like a 300-year-old mole. Not a
Let's
joke.
go, dude.
Yeah. And it's supposed to be the best thing ever.
It's cultured.
Super small. Yeah, like you just get, anyway.
It's a super small mole.
Mole. So you're making a mole.
If we're making this
Mole.
stew,
Okay.
this is where it's tricky. So I got some stuff that I really like.
Sure.
I put it in the pot.
Sprinkled.
You got some stuff that you really like.
Yep.
You put it in the pot. Chuck has no style at all, but he puts a little bit of whatever he does in the pot.
Aced out.
You know,
Boom.
we
Yeah.
stir it up, and then we have these conversations
And we have a
that-
hybrid baby of sorts.
that are talking about. Yeah, we have this kind of idea, baby, and we come out. We come up with something that, which is we're kind of identifying every day now.
Yeah.
That is a
and
brand.
we're in development.
It's like some kind of brand identity. So we have things that exist that are good, that
I'd say even just fine.
They're fine.
For if you want to call it what we probably believe, besides like the coffee quality, they're fine.
right. So how do we take it to the level of where this is undeniably cool?
Yeah.
We all think it's cool, even though we think different things are cool.
Well, we
like-
started because we started with the hard part, which is we finally overlapped and clarified our mission values. And that was the first part. And the next part, we're like in it. We're literally in it. So Chuck has said, oh yeah, I know that I'm not going to be that guy. So let's go. You know, like he knows that I'm a little, and I know it's not the same thing, but he knows that I'm a little more passionate about like getting stores and like physical space experiences going. If you were going to give it like somebody the top three, it'd be like me one, him two, probably you three in terms of new places. But in terms of branding and stuff, you would flip it and I'd be in the middle and he, you know what I'm saying? So like we're
Yeah.
starting to like lean into letting somebody make the call.
Yeah. And my experience with the physical location is interesting because I'm really passionate about the experience,
Right.
but I'm not as passionate about physically starting the new
Right.
place.
And that's where you'll come in later
But
and we'll
that's-
like tweak shit.
And that can be a little bit of a challenge too sometimes,
Right.
because if I'm completely disconnected, there's a danger that I walk into this cafe that is mine.
Unhappy.
I'm like, what the fuck happened here?
Right.
Like what? Not even just with
It'd be with anybody.
design, but with how does this workflow? This doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like we're doing this thing. I don't get it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, so there's got to be that overlap.
We got to get our
But-
Venn diagram right.
But yeah, I am incredibly aware and passionate of how people view our organization
Yeah.
from the outside in. And I think there is something that I haven't been able to define yet that is overwhelmingly cool, good, that I would like us to be. In the sense that you take some of those things that you would look at and be like, oh yeah, that's rad. Nike, we already mentioned.
It'd be cool to have, like,
whether you're
some-
an Apple person or not,
Right.
if you look at a MacBook Pro or some
Sure.
of the design stuff, you're
Clean.
like, yeah, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
You could take out your phone. This is what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to have conversations with people about our brand,
Right.
take out my phone, show people our website, our Instagram, and some of the stuff that we
Like
created,
merchy stuff. Yep.
and feel the same amount of empowerment, and I back it, whether I'm talking to 18-year-olds at the skate park
Right.
or talking to someone's grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And that seems tricky, but I think there are things to where even if people don't get every single portion of it, they can be like, I'm interested in that. I like that. I'm down with that.
I mean, I think that's maybe, though, why you and I have worked, because I think we want to figure that out. We haven't yet, maybe. Or maybe we have in some areas and we haven't in others, or we haven't taken it to the mountaintop. But I think that's one of the overlaps is how do we make it genuinely awesome to the most broad spectrum of people, because we actually believe that there's like this catalyst for connection, and that's what our whole mission is, which is, it's a tall order.
And that's where
It's ever evolving, though.
And I think that's how I ended up diving into the Nike site so hard
because they did
this
it
morning,
in a
because
way.
they did it.
Yeah.
But they have, obviously, they
So
have a
many
huge
SKUs.
brand with so much history, and that gives them a lot of opportunity.
I mean,
But
design, SKUs, style, like,
and they have niches within the niche,
Exactly.
which I think is kind of something that we could incorporate and do, because
Absolutely.
you have something, I don't know, what's a really normal, they have shoes that look, for all intents and purposes, you know, just
Dad
like
shoes.
a normal shoe.
Yeah.
Like, this is a normal shoe.
Sure.
It spans from, I'm trying to think of maybe that's a good thing. I can't think of like a normal Nike, but you've got an Air Max 90.
Sure.
You've got
You've got
Jordan
like that one
4,
that's not like the Cortez,
or you've
but
got
like, you know, the step
yeah,
up
you
of
got
the
a
Cortez,
Cortez
that's like a really
or
straightforward.
a Janoski or something.
Yeah.
All these different shoes,
the Janoskis.
and they all kind of exist in their own niche. And while
their own style of person.
Exactly. And while someone who would wear, not everyone's going to wear an Air Max 97, which is the one with like the big, huge kind of full sole bubble. It's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
If, like, to some people, it probably looks completely
Sneakerhead
ridiculous.
stuff.
Other people are like, I really like that a lot.
Right.
So someone who wears that might not be the same person who's wearing a Bruin, but each individual can
Wears a Nike.
be like, that's a cool brand that I can get down with. I like this vibe.
So what we're really, in a way, saying, because the low-hanging, super simple fruit is create a diverse coffee menu. That's not enough for us, I know, but that is.
I mean, coffee, yeah, looking at it in terms
like
of
your
product, that's like the most
key.
basic thing that you can do is
diverse roast,
like a thread of connection
Right.
between them. And then so take that into, that's simple.
It's way too, it's like maybe so simple that it's not terribly inspiring unless you try to get into like, or are very passionate about like how they're roasted, where they're sourced, and even probably down to packaging, which those three things I am pretty passionate about the ability to utilize to make something, right?
100%.
Like those three things are actually pretty significant opportunities to make something unique. And a lot of different push and play. But that's still so what feels basic because we've been making coffee for 20 years.
Well, and coffee seems so obvious in the way it's like, okay, cool. You roast coffee. It's the main product that we sell.
Yeah.
Making a diverse menu is really easy because we know how. Like, we know how to roast dark really well. We know how to do really awesome and still developed light roasts. And the answer is just everybody's fucking favorite coffee on earth whenever I send it to them.
Sure.
You know, it's the magic of anybody can drink it, and we're really good at that.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the visual piece, if we're trying to create a niche within an umbrella, the other week at the meeting, you know, we have the blue bags. Everybody knows our blue bags.
Yeah.
So, you know, a couple weeks ago at our Friday executive meeting, it's like, hey, we're going to be launching these coffees in 2 weeks, and we need to differentiate them because they cost, 50% more than the normal coffees. What should we do?
Yeah, too short
Oh,
notice.
when are they going to launch? Oh, they're going to launch in 2 weeks. I'm like, well, we can't do anything.
Yeah, pretty much nothing.
I'm like, well, we can put them in a different color bag.
That's about it.
That's a start. It could be,
and it's already got to be stock.
and it's got to be a bag that exists already. And that's the kind of world that we live in. So getting ahead of those things and then having the conversation, okay, this is our blue bag. It's for everybody. It's the standard. It's what you know as Cat and Cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do we do to create niches to hit these other things rather than just simply slapping a sticker on or simply changing the bag color, like to connect it to the people it's supposed to be connected to. And you can have something that's full blown psycho, up to the Off-White Virgil Abloh collab where the shoes sell for $1,000 or whatever. There's some version of that doesn't have to feel corny and just like a money grab.
Agree.
Giving to someone who gets it.
Absolutely agree. I mean, that's the challenge. And that's, again, on the most basic level of the thing that's like the thing that we could make happen, quote unquote, the fastest and the soonest is something like that. Because we already have the skill set. It really would come down to like agreeing and the amount of money we want to spend to make said things happen. Because I'm feeling exceptionally more confident in the style, like claiming a style of how we want to roast a coffee. I've just been going so hard with Grace and Brittany and that team over there that I'm like, I'm feeling really good. And I've started cupping other people's coffees next to ours and, finding that we're able to do things that towards the beginning, I was like, oh, we just don't have coffee that can be like that. I'm like, okay, we're able to kind of do what we want to do. And I'm feeling really confident that we can lead that. So that means we've covered this huge base of people. Then how do you express the stories throughout after that, which is where all the time comes. How's it look? What's the story? Why do they care? And working through all that, like, that's a lot.
No, this is a great convo, because even with something as simple and non-coffee related as, let's say, a t-shirt, making a t-shirt, the freedom to make a different kind of shirt and explore and have it be okay that, hey, this shirt is going to be kind of like a skate shirt.
Sure.
And if you're used to our traditional apparel, probably not for you. You're probably not going to buy it.
Yeah.
It's, it's
then even arguably, like, is anybody used to our apparel? And I'm sure they are. But
yeah,
even
there
from
is.
me and you, I know.
Yeah, it's
I know.
like a mom with a stroller walking down Pleasure Point, and she's got her Verve shirt from 10 years ago, and then she layers her Cat and Cloud hoodie over the top of it.
Double local.
That's exactly
but
where
okay,
we're at right now.
Sorry, cut you off. But I'm like looking for more intentionality in our stuff. You can't just see a bunch of new cool stuff and throw it on a shirt and think that it's going to work. It's like, we need to really utilize like different things for different opportunities, and you still have to have clear branding, and you still have to have clear direction, and it still has to like reflect who we are. And that's what's interesting, like evolution to come.
Yeah, it's almost like you're creating this home base.
Right.
And then you have this radius around the home base, and you can kind of reach into this other area and dabble, and then you pull back home, and then you reach over here, and then you come back home, and you can do these explorations as long as you have this solid foundation where people can understand what you're about and still get the gist of the brand, not be so confused about what
this doesn't look like them at all.
I don't understand.
Or I've never seen this, and it's completely different.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Yeah. There's, I mean, even to just being able to find inclusivity, like we're cupping for our next coffees. And we did a big run of like the 2B Kenyan coffees, like 20 of them or something like that the other day. And afterwards I was thinking about it, because like we agreed in the end to pick 3 coffees, but there were a couple coffees that were on the table that were also very good, that weren't necessarily my favorite or Charles or Grace's favorite, but they were some of the other people's favorites, and there was nothing wrong with them. They were just like not our top of the line. And part of me was like, I wonder if there's an opportunity even there to expand confidence and engagement by just saying, okay, cool. Like, as long as we all agree these aren't gross, these 3 people are picking the coffee today. Like, we're all going to pick one, and our favorite's going to go. And even if I wouldn't pick that one as my top, it's your top. Cool. It's different than the one we like. It's going to be okay, because there's a bigger group of people out there. And it's a slight tangent, but it's that same idea of like, how do you keep on expanding and growing and allow people to continue to take it so that's not only ours.
So as you're basically giving ownership to someone else.
Yeah. It was just a similar idea.
Reached a certain level of trustworthiness,
like,
or skill, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, something. And it was just something you were saying was pulling on that idea of it's not like it wasn't. None of those coffees were outside of the scope of Cat and Cloud. So why not allow for something that doesn't quite feel like Jared's favorite, which I'm totally down to, but it was more like one of those things where I'm like, I wonder if there's opportunity in the future for more in that context, where same thing. We're making sure that it is okay to fit under the Cat and Cloud umbrella, whatever it is. And then after that, it's okay for it to kind of go in its own direction, because we've already signed off on the direction in general, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying that's how we should or shouldn't do it, but it felt like a way to make sure that somebody felt valuable in the future. And we're at a point with what we're talking about now where we're going to have to be heavily involved anyway. And we already are trusting the squad more so than we have in the past. But you still have to start pretty in charge of it for a while first before somebody could fully take it over.
Yeah, I go back and forth on those things. On one hand, I see the value in empowering someone. And on the other hand,
not too soon.
The bigger lesson is probably, these are the coffees that are our favorites, and here is why. Mm-hmm. So that in the future, you can pick the coffees that are like these, because we do have this strong opinion on coffee, because every step of the way you're basically degrees off.
Right.
So the way it spirals bad is I would pick these two, but everyone's just going to pick their own. So you pick yours.
Oh, right.
And they're like, I like this one. Guess what? I'm empowered to pick coffee. So I'm going to pick the coffees that I like and not even really care about what Jared, Charles, or Chris thinks.
Yeah,
like,
too far the wrong way.
And that's all in the person's attitude, but also in the lesson, because we're setting up the lesson
Right.
that they're going to need to learn. So is the lesson you have your own voice in this company, or is the lesson this is how you find really awesome coffee that aligns with our vision of coffee?
Totally.
That feels like the more important lesson. If you can bring them together,
then you got a superpower.
maybe you can stair step them to
Right.
where it's like maybe exercise one when people get to a certain level is they're at enough cuppings like these, which maybe we'll call them calibration
Sure.
cuppings. Everybody picks their favorite. Everybody picks their favorite. Or actually, everybody doesn't pick their favorite. Everybody picks what they think would best fit in the cat and cloud
That
vision.
is where I was
That's
going.
the better one.
Right.
So let's say someone does that enough times. Let's say you do a blind tasting,
Sure.
some sort of triangulation or just general
Like
cupping.
we're in agreement enough.
Everybody puts things in the bucket. And Jared picked coffees 1, 3, and 7. And Charles picked the same coffee. And after 3 or 4 weeks in a row, Roaster X or whoever was cupping
Sure.
with you, complete calibration.
Yeah.
Then you can have a cupping that's like, hey, you've
Earned the
shown
right.
that you're like really dialed in
Yeah.
to not even just earn the right, but earn the skill.
Or the skill set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are dialed in. So we have an upcoming cupping. We're going to be out of town, so we're going to need you to pick 2 coffees out of these
Yeah. Time to
7
go.
or whatever, and it's totally your call. We
Yeah.
trust you.
And they'll make a totally.
So then you maybe have the better version of just letting them just pick a coffee for whatever,
Right.
because you're tying it to education, so they don't just feel. There's always the risk of people feel like they've earned it or feel empowered when they really haven't.
That's absolutely true.
And that is incredibly scary for
Yeah.
me, and I know it is for you too, because
Well-
we've seen how it can spin real hard.
it can get weird.
Yeah.
More so what I was thinking about is I feel like when it comes down to cupping, like we're going to have preferences, but you and I are going to be objective enough to pick different coffees and complexities because of what's best. But I do wonder, I wonder if there's an opportunity for people to kind of fall into it's a positive rut, but it's a rut of always picking the same style of coffee because they like it the best. And that's more where I was coming from. But you're absolutely right. I agree with you. It can't just be, it has to come with all the caveats you spoke about. But I don't want to have, it's like I think to the future and what we were speaking about earlier. And it's like you want to have a diverse enough menu that somebody can not like a coffee but still find something they love.
Absolutely.
Then, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
And I know we do that with roast level, but even if we're going to
Oh.
have 3 Kenyan coffees, I'd like to have 3 pretty different Kenyan coffees, all awesome. And that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, I'm objective enough to go, I want this one, and this one for these reasons,
Right.
and they're not the same versus this is the best, this is the best, and this is the best. And I'm like, they all basically taste the same.
100%. And
That's where I'm kind of going also.
So that's the deeper
Right?
teaching opportunity that we have, because it's on us or you in that moment to really explain what we're thinking of
Right.
when we curate the menu, and then you have to take it all the way to the guest experience.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine you're at home, or you're either at home or you're in the shop. Both of these are equally annoying. So if you're in the shop and you see 3 coffees that say Kenya on
Yeah.
them on the shelf, and then you ask the barista which one they should get or how they're different, and the response is, because it's true, they're all pretty much the same. If you like Kenyan coffees, you like any of them.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of annoying.
Oh, it'd be the
Or
worst.
if they're all in your cupboard at home because someone got them for you and you're trying to figure out which one to brew and it really didn't matter, that's not inspiring either. You know, you want to be excited about grabbing that bag that you're in the mood for at that moment. And I've been paying so much more attention to what I keep in my cupboard as far as a range, because I've noticed the moodiness in myself. where it's,
Absolutely.
some days I just don't want to go there. So right now, you know, I've defaulted to always keeping the answer around, because some days I just don't want a bright single origin coffee. It just doesn't seem exciting to me.
Yeah.
And I've always got, if it's on the menu, something that is some washed coffee from Africa somewhere that is just on
Yeah. We're gonna get our
just
fleek
nuts.
on shortly.
Yeah, on fleek. I
We're
wanted to
gonna
say
get our
fleek,
fleek
but
on.
then I didn't want to say fleek
Nah,
because
let's go
only
for it, dude.
assholes say fleek.
I mean,
but it's
we're like showing it.
asshole.
I'm with you, but I do pretty much always want a single origin in the morning, but that's because I've taken part of my job on too is to like QC the coffees at home, so tasting them all. But even that, I have to make sure that I have like 3 different coffees because it'll be a mood for sure. It'll be like, oh, I can't wait till tomorrow where I'm going to try that Bariti or the Juan Peña or Damien or Cabrizi from that'll be launched from Rwanda or the Getcha Thaini. Like all those are in rotation, and Sanajas, and they're all in rotation based on the mood. And then again, it's like I know the roast and what we did with it and what we're trying to do with it, and so it's really fun. And then I'll have decaf always because that'll be my
Decaf
do I want dark
too.
coffee, even if it's in the morning. Sometimes I want like quote unquote it's not even dark, but you know a rounder,
rich, dude.
richer,
It's fucking rich,
caramelly
bro.
coffee. I'll grab that friend zone and just that'll be my coffee.
So
But anyway, all that to
It's
say is
pretty dope, actually.
we're opening up, we're kind of circling back onto what we're talking about, even in terms of coffee, right? It's like that is one of the things we need to do is continue to educate on calibrate. I think everybody kind of is generally educated enough in our company to know.
it's both. I mean, that is education.
It is
Calibrate
both.
that.
Right.
I mean, I would consider that's
They are interchangeable.
huge learning.
I just make I didn't want it to feel like the people if they were listening that we are
they know
our team
how to
doesn't
roast
know Kenyan coffee.
Yeah,
That's
no.
more what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the education or the opportunity to calibrate is like our goal is to continuously create and inspire connection through memorable experiences, which means that not everybody should get the same experience every time with a coffee. And then it's the same thing with our bags. Like what on our bag? You know, it's like we're going to start going there. And honestly, that probably is going to answer so many questions. And then our Venn diagram just needs to go next level where it's like, where's the crossover into what we all are so excited about? You know,
Yeah.
freedom, new locations, meaning, exploration in new cities, and the ability to move around the world and connect with new people. You know, there's like all those things that we need to calibrate / formulate and prioritize how they work in the future.
See, those conversations sound fun. Even the conversation simply about the coffee, having those, it's really tricky because what we've just described doesn't happen all the time because it's really easy to get caught up in the moment of I like this coffee, I like that coffee, we should pick this coffee, we should pick that coffee, and then going the extra mile to really have that discussion of, okay, let's step back, let's detach from a moment, let's get out of the roastery and into the guest and have those conversations. It's just real.
I'm excited about
but
that
those
stuff.
are really inspiring because those once you've got a I feel shitty when we're talking about stuff. I feel like I have to qualify like every single time, so I'm going to stop qualifying stuff. We roast awesome coffee. Yeah, we're always going to improve it, but the coffee's undeniably good. So we're going to assume that for everything, we have a base level of quality established, right? The product definitely matters.
Let me just make a claim here. There's a lot of different styles of roasting, and we're about to have all of them under our belt, and that's awesome because then we can actually make every single coffee how we want to make it and curate it versus what most companies have.
Let me just make another claim.
They all roast similarly the same style on all their coffees, and then there's roast levels.
Here's the deal about our
about
coffee.
that.
It's better than yours, man.
It's just
better, dude. I actually looked it up on the internet. I Googled better coffee, and it was a picture of Cat and Cloud.
And next to it, it said cool.
It said cool. That shit was real.
That shit was cool.
It was cool, man.
But I got excited about that literally last night. I went and got a coffee at a place, and it was a single origin espresso. They pull it different. It was clean. It was good. And I'm like, okay, cool. There's one other way to explore roasting. And then we sit on it, and then the right people learn all of these styles, and then we decide how to approach coffees in the way we want to approach coffees. And we have a diverse skill set of how to approach them in style of roast to make them awesome. And then we actually do it. We don't just say we roast coffee like this. And that to me is a skilled, amazing, culinary-based, inspired company that is intentional about what the fuck it does. And most companies don't take that time to do that.
Yeah, all that
Straight
to
up.
say, where I was going and why I felt the need to qualify that is, what I was going to say is arguably the harder part is explaining that cultural piece.
Right.
Once you have the skills is constantly remembering to step back and have those conversations from the guest point of view, from the outsider's point of view, think about the whole thing in an ecosystem and not just how do I roast this coffee? It's kind of like making espresso or something really basic. Let's say you're learning register in the cafe. You get hired as a concierge and you come in, you're learning register. Yeah, pushing the buttons. There's a hump to get over there. You got to learn how to do it. But you could push the buttons really well. You could make espresso really well. You could brew coffee really well, make pour-overs really well, have really awesome latte art, and still be a shitty barista.
Absolutely.
Because you're not connecting the whole thing in terms of the experience. And that's what we're talking about.
Right.
That is challenging. I've seen a ton of people who have amazing skills who are terrible baristas.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's not because they don't know how to make coffee.
No. No. I'm like, and a lot of them are out there telling everybody else how to do that shit.
It's arguably because they think about coffee more than they think about everything. They're not thinking of the ecosystem of what it means to walk through the doors of a cafe.
That's okay.
And
they're also out there and they're probably telling
coffee is
everybody
important.
how this works.
And yes, so is everything else. Good.
Sure, man. That was good. And we didn't even talk about mission or values specifically at all. Still can do.
I don't care about values anymore. It's all about cool.
Hey, that's the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening. I know this is the time, the shameless, like classic, we need your help, but we do want to get our message out there, and we do want to share this with a lot of people. So if you could share this with others, you could subscribe, you could rate, you could review. It would greatly help us as we continue to push through not only the YouTube as it's fresh, but also the general podcast as we took nearly an entire year off from doing it. And so please do so, share it. I believe that we have some information and some perspectives that could help not only people in the coffee industry, but people in any industry, any walk of life. So do us that favor, do us that solid, bring us that love, and turn up for us, please. And I hope you all have a great time. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.